Yes, it is. And it was a busy day for us here in the sports team. I've got Colin Davies and Jack Leto alongside me today. I'm Chelsea Brown. We had Iowa Football Media Day. This is a day where we can kind of have free reign, talk with players, coordinators, and then obviously heard from head coach Kirk Ferentz. It was a hot day, which is why my hair is up because it is wet. You guys, you feel good? You got the sweat still soaking in your shirts? Yeah.
A little toasty for sure, but at least the player availability was inside a little bit. Half inside, a little hybrid.
Breeze, though. No breeze.
Yes.
No breeze. But it's a good preparation for some of those late August, early September games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even though some of them are at night right now. If it was during the day. Maybe Iowa State, too, that early game will be a little toasty.
You guys will have fun with that.
Yes. Let's just go off some first impressions, first reactions. Obviously, headliner right now is the quarterback position. Mark Gronowski is the new guy coming in. I enjoyed the story, though, that Kirk Ferentz kind of mentioned, saying about his first practice back full speed, how he was 6 of 9, which on a good day, 6 of 9, that's not a bad stat at all. But then they kind of went in depth and said, those passes weren't dropped, but maybe they, landed in the defender's hand, or they landed in someone on the sideline hand. He joked about it too. It was a little bit of a, moment to kind of dust off the rust, if you will. But very personable guy, and Gronowski. Anything that stood out to you guys about talking about him and how he's transitioned a little bit to Iowa?
I think Ferentz was very measured when it came to talking about Gronowski and the offense in general. At the very end of the press conference, he was asked, hey, the offense took a big step up from 2023 to 2024. What are you doing to make another big leap? And he pretty much, paraphrased and was like, let's slow the roll here. It all starts with defense. That's what Iowa's football is about. So he was very measured, and that's what kind of stuck out to me. And while everyone's talking about Gronowski, and rightfully so, because, he's a high profile, he's a winner, he's done it before at the FCS level, Ferentz wanted to slow the roll a little bit and kind of focus on his defense, and I think he's probably got that message through to his guys as well.
Yeah, I think the context is so important with Iowa quarterbacks because fans have been burned by these stories before. Cade McNamara wasn't who Iowa fans expected him to be. Honestly, Spencer Petras before that, a highly recruited guy out of Northern California. He was not the quarterback that was promised to them. So all these fans are a little on edge. But I think what you've gotten from Gronowski is he's a measured guy, and he's going to bring stability to this quarterback room.
I think the big thing that stands out to me, too, that Tim Lester continues to say about him is that he knows how to win. And that's proven, doesn't matter, what level right now, he knows how to win. I think that's huge because that's not only a mindset, that's also how you react to certain situations. And that's one thing that Lester has touched on too, is just like if something bad were to happen, he's fully aware. He kind of does a self-assessment and everything, but he's very quick to fix something and not get too frustrated. I do think that's obviously having a few years under his belt in this position and everything. But something that we just kind of touched on a little bit too is the offense did take a leap. However, they want to get their receivers more involved this year. That's just been something I've taken away too.
Yeah, and I spoke to a lot of the receivers today, and I spoke to the wide receiver coach as well, and he mentioned that the guy that really stuck out is Seth Anderson. He said the biggest thing, it's not flashy to say, but he hasn't grown in one particular area of the game, but he's just healthy. And he said that's been the only thing that's really held him back, and now he's really flourished. Now he's healthy. He's put together an offseason, put together a good fall camp, and they're saying he's the guy to watch out for, is probably Gronowski's number one target. But Ferentz also mentioned, the wide receiver coach also mentioned, that they're still in a wide receiver battle. There's still not a set depth chart. The job is very much up for grabs. But as of right now, with what we've learned so far, I would say Seth Anderson is probably the name to watch in that room.
This is a deep wide receiver room. Think about all the guys that were there last year that are here again. Year 2 in Tim Lester's system. I think fans should be excited because you have Jacob Gill in year 2 under Tim Lester. Same with Jerry Bowie. Same with Seth Anderson, who you just mentioned. And then you have the additional guys like your Sam Phillips coming in from Chattanooga. the only transfer out of the wide receiver room, I believe, was Caleb Brown, and that was in the middle of last season. All these guys are back, coming to an Iowa team that the reputation is dwindling, but the reputation is still, this is a tight end university. This is offensive line. This is running backs. Can wide receivers do well in this system? And the past few years, the recruiting hasn't really been great for wide receivers, but it's finally caught up to the rest of the team. So you were saying the depth. I think the depth is the biggest strength for this wide receiver room.
Yeah, and we've kind of seen Gronowski out in the public on a little bit of a media tour, and one thing that's really stuck out, and he also mentioned to me as well during the offense availability about a month ago, was I asked him, hey, are the public perception, the national perception of Iowa's offense is you run the ball, and when you don't get the first down, you punt, and you rely on that defense. And I asked him, do you want to change that perception? Is that something you took personally? He said, yeah, it was something that was brought up in the recruiting pitch. He wants to be the guy to go in and change that. So I spoke to some of the receivers today. Do you guys share that sentiment? And they're like, yeah, we spent last year doing kind of growing into Tim Lester's system, and they feel like they can make that jump. And a few of them are, sharing that kind of viewpoint with Gronowski. They want to be the group. They think this is the year that they can change that perception of Iowa's offense.
There's a lot of confidence in their old guys too, with not necessarily the reps, that you would see from like a wide receiver group. But I mean, Caden Weegan calls himself the grandpa. Like he openly says that about himself. And a lot of guys are looking to him, just his skill set and his speed. And I think you've seen a lot of improvement. I think Coach Lester said that his route running has improved significantly. They're going to lean on him to use him. I'd say more of a utility guy, whatever that may entail. But also, Iowa's going to run the ball. They always run the ball. I think another big gap is who's going to be the guy. I don't know if there is one guy. I know Coach Ferentz, though, said today that he does not know who the starting running back is as of today.
Yeah, so I was able to talk to Kamari Moulton, who, if I had to make a prediction who's going to be running back one, it's going to be Moulton. He's gained 20 pounds in the last 2 years. He's learned a lot, obviously, under Caleb Johnson. I don't think he's going to be Caleb Johnson, but if I had to make a prediction, it's Moulton, who's sort of an all-around back. He's not Johnson in his speed or his power, but I think his speed, power, ability to catch the ball, ability to block is in the top. If you were to rank all the running backs at Iowa, it's probably in the top 3 when it comes to every single category. However, we're not experts in this thing. I think if there is one question we are asking today that will be answered at Kids Day, it's this. Who's going to start at running back? Who's going to be number 2? Who's going to be number 3? I think names you got to watch out for are Moulton, that's one. Terrell Washington's a converted wide receiver. He can catch the ball. And if this is Earth, Wind, and Fire, you have Earth in Jazzy Patterson, who's a basher. So he's going to be really important on third and short. I don't know if he's going to be an every down back, but I think in this Ferentz system of run the ball up the middle, zone read, just hit the hole really hard, Patterson's going to be really important. Xavier Williams and Nathan McNeil are the 2 young freshmen who stood out a little bit in the spring game. Remains to be seen if they're going to be on the field. But yeah, depth at the running back position for sure.
Yeah, what I kind of see, as of right now, I would almost feel like that they're going to go with a running back by committee is kind of how, because they're always going to run, they are going to run the ball a ton. And none of those guys, none of the indication that we've gotten from the coaching staff as of now signals that one of these guys has really separated themselves. And I think with how much the quantity of carries there's a lot of carries to be had. And I do think it's probably going to be a running back by committee. And I did speak to Mullen about a month ago about that. And he said, yeah, if someone gets going, they'll give that person the ball. But he's saying, running back by committee as of right now, because they're still battling it out in camp. They could get resolved, but something just tells me there's so many carries. And now, if no one separated themselves by now, I think that we'll see like a 60-40 split. The true number one, it'll be a balanced load for those guys.
Yeah, one just thing, this is another truism, but Kamari Moulton was telling the 2 of us, these guys love each other. There's a competition. It is a healthy competition, but no one gets more excited for the one guy than the other guys in the running back room. I think we're going to see that this year.
As a fantasy football owner, You don't necessarily love the running back by committee, but it is a trend. You know, we've seen that at the professional level, and I don't know if you're going to get that workhorse like you had last year with Caleb Johnson.
But I will say, last year at this time, was anyone saying Caleb Johnson would be the guy?
No, everyone was focused on Cade McNamara's injury.
Yeah, but the what I'm saying is, like, we don't know for sure. Like, it could be one guy steps up. I don't know if they will. I like your idea of the running back by committee, but like you never know what one guy could step up or what two guys could step up. That's why I'm really looking forward to Kids Day.
Kids Day, which will be actually the first time that we and fans kind of get to see Gronowski
throwing
the ball.
For real.
That's pretty important when it comes to playing quarterback.
In spring practice, obviously, he was doing his snaps and kind of just the mental reps, we'll call them, and everything. But he is fully ready, fully participating from our knowledge. But it does seem like it is his job, and they do have a very talented quarterback room and some competition there as well. Anything else we want to mention about the offense before we switch over to the other side?
They're sort of
the
quiet,
ball.
but Addison Ostrenga and Zach Ortworth as the tight ends.
Oh, some tight ends? Okay.
As a tight end U. I mean, this is so weird because we talk about tight ends so often at Iowa. I think those are just going to be quiet security blankets for Gronowski, who's still learning. He's going to, even in week one, he's still going to be learning this offense. They're going to be important, especially early on in the season. I think by later in the season, you'll see the medium to deep game really develop with the wide receivers.
Hey, it's tight end U for a reason, right? Let's switch over to defense. Let's start linebackers because I feel like that is a huge kind of open, just a big gap right now. Obviously, the leadership that was lost at that position from last year's group, Jay Higgins, Nick Jackson, but kind of the progression and process that they had to go through to wait their turn. In the end, it paid off. It seems like these guys now that are stepping into this, starting lineup, we'll say, they had to wait their turn in a while, right, Jack?
Yeah, that's what I asked Kirk Ferentz is the wait your turn guys. There, Jaden Harrell is your potential middle linebacker. He's not exactly a one-to-one replacement to Jay Higgins, but Seth Wallace told us if there's anyone that's practicing as the Mike, it's going to be Jaden Harrell. You also have Carson Shire and Jackson Rexroth. Both of those guys are fifth-year seniors. So when I asked Kirk Ferentz in the podium session about those three, he said yes, you expect to see those three at Kids Day. But he didn't guarantee anything. There are some younger guys. I think if there's one surprise that I'm excited to talk about, not just today, but throughout the season, young linebackers who are kind of nipping at their heels. The first name Seth Wallace mentioned, Phil Parker, defensive coordinator, mentioned was Jaden Montgomery. Then he also mentioned Preston Reese, Cam Buffington, Derek Weiskopf. Those are three redshirt freshmen who are super athletic, super highly touted recruits. So I don't think Harrell, Shire, and Rexroth, they won't be pulled off the field in the first few games. I think they just have the hang of the system, and they've gotten their union card, so to speak, that they know what it's like. Even from sitting on the bench, they've learned from your Higgins and from your Jackson, and even from your Jack Campbells back in the day. So they're going to start. Kyler Fisher. Yep. Yeah, they're going to start. And I'm really excited to see, can they be the guys, guys with an S. I think it's funny that, yes, Jaden Harrell is new, so to speak.
Right.
He's the captain of this new defense, or the Mike linebacker is the quarterback, I should say, of the new defense. But you have to remember, he was a number 2 for a really long time, and so was Shire, and so was Rexroth, so was Cohen Entringer, and Max Llewellyn. So yes, he doesn't have any starts under his belt, but he knows the guys that are standing to his left and to his right. I think Harrell is going to be your surprise, quiet middle linebacker that we look up in week 3 and week 4, and he's maybe a 2-time Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week, and everyone looks up and says, oh gosh, Iowa's got another top flight middle linebacker.
And when you look at this program, Kirk Ferentz said it over and over, it's a developmental program. And I don't think there's a position group you can look at more or close to than linebackers to kind of show what type of a program it is being developmental. Because in previous years, Jay Higgins sat for years and years behind Jack Campbell, and he came in.
Knew he was going to reference
Who
this.
couldn't?
He's
Yeah.
going to reference a Detroit Lion.
Of course.
Remember Jack Campbell? He played here.
I felt like
Of
it was
course.
coming. Go ahead, continue.
Great linebacker. Anyway, so yeah, he sat behind Jack Campbell for all those years. He stepped in and he really wowed people. And then we see that he didn't go high in the pro draft because there were concerns over the physical, the measurables or whatnot, characteristics. But the development was completely there. Is completely there, and he's with the Ravens, doing pretty darn well right now.
Higgins, yes.
Yeah.
And shout out to that interception last night.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. Didn't have the measurables, but you can go out and get an interception either way.
One thing
Right.
that they do well is develop at Iowa, and I think the linebacker position is like the perfect example of that working out for pretty much any guy who's kind of waited their turn for that position. Let's move a little bit backwards. Secondary, a lot of question marks, a little bit of injuries too there that they're dealing with. What did you guys learn about go ahead.
Yeah, so the secondary, it's the position group that is probably the most in transition on defense. There's a lot of new guys. The top 3, interception leaders from last year are all gone. So it's a bunch of young guys that are hungry, wanting to get in there. And here's the thing, they might be young and they might not have that much experience. But one thing that really stuck out to me was speaking to Zach Lutmer today.
Okay.
And he was saying that he's started to know what plays the offense are running and can identify them at the line. So take that as, So it's good to see that he's and the defense and some of those guys that maybe don't have a ton of experience are already picking up on a lot of those X's and O's things that maybe younger guys wouldn't be able to pick up. So I would say that is the bright side of looking at it. The downside is a lot of the guys in the secondary are coming into this thing with not too much experience when it comes to games off the practice field.
Yeah, I think at the secondary position, the corners are a big question.
Yep.
TJ Hall has been a corner with this program for a while. He's one of the most improved players from 2 years ago to last year, but he's never been the number one. He's never been the 2 years ago Cooper DeJean, last year Jamari Harris. He's never been the number one corner. And on the other side, who's that guy going to be? We're pretty sure it's Deshaun Lee. He's technically listed, Deshaun Lee is, as a returning starter because he started in the bowl game against Missouri. But I think he's going to have some competition from Jalen Watson, the sophomore out of Detroit, behind him. Those are question marks. The number 2 corner was a question mark all year last season, and I think it will be again. Not a question mark, though, is safety.
Yeah.
Xavier Nwampa moves from strong safety to free safety. Yeah. Looks like he's more comfortable, or it sounds like, I should say. We'll see tomorrow. It sounds like he's more comfortable. And then Cohen Entringer moves into the strong safety position. Cohen Entringer has one start at Cash, but he's so experienced. He played in the Big Ten championship game a couple years ago against Michigan. Every Iowa media member is never going to shut up, myself included, is never going to shut up about that play, that 99-yard chase down where he's a gunner on the punt team. He misses the punt returner on a tackle, runs basically 99 yards and knocks him out of bounds at the 1. That's an example of who he is. And we were asking him about that, and Entringer says that's everyone. Everyone at gunner is going to play that, is going to do exactly what I did. Hustle. Entringer is a confident guy. I think he's a really interesting pro prospect at safety. He only has the one start, but he's not your average guy who's coming off the bench. He's played a lot.
And something that group too from Phil Parker, I know from just speaking with him over this kind of offseason too, is giving up those big plays. That is something that they really want to improve on this season. I think about a handful of games, I'm blanking on what teams right now, just where some of those explosive plays were given up, and Iowa fans kind of looked at it and it's like, whoa, like where's our defense and everything? Defense is still fantastic. We won't question that. But I know that is something that they want to work on. Obviously, though, they have some positions and people and personnel to figure out, and it'll be a work in progress, right? An improvement and everything like that. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I think that this defense, I think a lot of there are so many questions with the offense, obviously with a new quarterback, and I think the biggest question is if the offense performs to what they're capable of, Well, if it's the same old, if it's like the same old Iowa defense, sky's the limit, right? 10 wins is what you would think, but it's a question of, can that offense go to that expectation? And then even if that offense doesn't go to the expectation as similar to the previous years, they're still going to have a pretty darn good season. But it's up to that defense, if that defense can kind of keep on going with what they have in past years. And yeah, like I said, sky's the limit for them.
I think defense is going to be interesting. I wrote that in this stat that I thought was interesting. 6 starters are leaving, and in theory, the guys who are going to replace them are Max Llewellyn, Jonah Pace, the transfer. Those are defensive linemen. Jaden Harrell, Carson Shire, Cohen Entringer, and Zach Lutmer. All of those guys have a combined 1 career start. Except you don't think that because those guys sound so familiar in your head. It's because Jaden Harrell's a 5th-year senior. Carson Shire's a 5th-year senior. Max Llewellyn's a 5th-year senior. Cohen Entringer is a junior, but it's his 4th year with the program. Yeah, they don't have a lot of starts, but these are experienced, inexperienced guys. They've seen the top players. For defensive line, it's Y.A. Black and Deontay Craig. For linebacker, it's Campbell, Seth Benson, Nick Jackson, Jay Higgins. It's Quinn Schulte and Jamari Harris for the defensive back room. It's just a question of, yeah, it's great that you've learned under those guys, but can you put it on the field?
We've talked a lot about the skill positions. We've yet to mention either line. Obviously, Iowa needs a great offensive line if they want to, move the ball. Obviously, the holes last year that opened up for Caleb Johnson were incredible. He would say that, give credit to his O-line. There's some new pieces. Half of the line is married. I'm just kidding, but congratulations to them. And then, obviously, the missing pieces, too, with, who left on the defensive line. We only touched on it maybe a little bit today. I believe Scott Dochterman asked the question just about the offensive line and everything. But did you guys talk to any linemen today about
That's all you.
expectations or where we're moving?
I was all over the line. And
Okay.
George Barnett was, I believe, the first guy I spoke to, offensive line coach, and he was just talking. It's so funny because George Barnett, fans were calling for his job 2 years ago, and he was like, "Yeah, man, I don't hear any of the outside stuff."
Year 1 or 2? It was very early.
It was a really tough year for him.
Yeah,
but
a lot of
he
injuries,
stuck the course.
right?
Yeah,
Yes.
he stayed the course. He says you can't microwave this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
and well, we're out of the oven here. And Logan Jones is a potential All-American. Jennings Dunker is a potential All-American. They love Bo Stevens, and they love Cade Pieper, who's competing at right guard. I think if you had to stack up those 4 best offensive linemen against any other 4 in the Big Ten, I think you're very happy about it. The one question we still aren't 100% sure is left tackle.
Yes.
Mark Gronowski has a blind side. We all learned from the movie in 2010. Lawrence Taylor, you got to protect the blind side. Left tackle is a big question.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Doetzler is your veteran senior guy who's been there forever. But Bryce George is your Division II transfer. He's won a couple national championships in D2 at left tackle. I don't know if he's going to start day 1, but I think he has the most talent in order to get there. That's your question. But I think your answers, it's the boldest, most underlined answers we've talked about, the most consistent thing. Jennings Dunker at right tackle and Logan Jones at center. I think, barring injury, those guys are the guys you can rely on no matter what if you're an Iowa fan.
And I mean, you got 2 guys that won the Soul and Beef Days hay bale toss, so they better be able to move some defensive linemen,
That right
right?
side, that's a lot of farm strength with Cade Pieper and Jennings Dunker.
Absolutely.
That's true. Let's talk special teams a little bit, too. Punter, Reese Dakin, he's back. 2nd year, right, for the Australian?
Yeah.
It feels weird. Obviously, his expectations have been so high, but he just continued to improve, He's going to be more consistent. His leg, I've heard, is also a little bit more powerful. And then Drew Stevens, to think about his trajectory over his career and when he got here to now where he is. I mean, he would even tell you, too, that mentally when he walked in here, it was kind of messy, right? Now to see what he did, especially how he ended the season, the regular season, I should say, this year. It's kind of just, I think, a perfect story to kind of what his career has been so far. And then, obviously, the moving pieces, Caden Weegan, Jet,
He's still back.
That's what they're calling him now. He's back. I don't know how many teams are going to be kicking to him or punting, or I should say, or anything. But still, it's like, a lot of pieces are back. At the same time, you got a lot of young guys that are wanting to step on special teams. Where Woods does such a fantastic job developing those guys and everything. Did we hear anything from special teams today?
It's up to you.
I didn't hear anything from
because
this.
Because we know that they're going to be consistent, right?
I peel back the curtain here, but it's so consistent. You want to find the best 3 guys in the country to kick, punt, and return. You might have them all in Iowa City.
And it's especially with kicking, it's not so much when it comes to talent. It's so much of the mental side and how you're feeling going into that season. So, you can't see how they're doing mentally. Hopefully everything's great, because if it's good, they'll be good. If it's not, it'll start to tail off a little bit. That's just kind of how it goes with kicking. You're going to see the guys are still going to be able to kick just as far in practice, right? Maybe a yard or 2 further. But it comes out with the consistency. It's just such a mental thing. You see it in college. You see it in pros, especially. One second a guy is fantastic, and then the next season he's just kind of falling apart there. So it's so much of a mental game. You'll just see when they go out into the field, right?
Yeah. I will say we have gotten to chat with all of them this off season, so maybe that's why. We kind of know where they stand, what they've done. We know Reese went back to Australia, which was great. Got to see some family. And, Drew Stevens is kind of the guy, right? He's been the guy. We know he's going to be the guy.
And he's been not the guy, too. I think that's an interesting thing.
Well, that's his whole story, That's kind of
he got kicked up, and now he's back. It's mentally. He's going to be a great case study on kickers for the next 10 years. I think however long Coach Ferentz is coaching, he's going to be referencing Drew Stevens. Drew Stevens might be one of those guys where you ask Ferentz a question and he references a guy that played 10 years ago. Drew Stevens is going to be the guy that played 10 years ago because he's just such a good story.
Obviously, too, I want to mention Kirk Ferentz nearing a milestone. For all-time wins in the Big Ten. Has a chance to break that, of course, against the Cyclones, week 2 in Ames. He knows it. He doesn't want to bring it up.
He'll bring up that he's closest to the all-time Big Ten losses, right? You did that on your radio show on Iowa Live.
That is
right?
true. He usually joke about that. But I think it's a testament to what he's done. Not only at Iowa, but just in the conference and how much success they've had. I know it can be frustrating too sometimes when things aren't clicking, but they've had some pretty successful seasons. What do you think that this milestone means? I'm putting you guys kind of on the spot. Yeah. What do you think it kind of means for Coach Ferentz, for this Iowa program, whatnot? Because I'm confident he's going to reach it this season. Yeah,
I think he will. I think in the moment, he might not. He's the type of guy that might not care in the moment. Might be, go out there with the smiles, the photo if they do any presentation for him, especially when they get back to campus in Iowa City. But I think it's something that, one day in retirement, he'll look back on and enjoy it. But I don't think he's the type of guy that dwell on his own records. I think he'll just kind of move along.
I don't know Kirk Ferentz as maybe as well as you, Chelsea, who's been covering this program for longer than I have. Don't know him as well as our friends, our writer friends. But I know this about Kirk Ferentz. I know this for sure. Here's what he's going to say when he gets that win that passes Woody Hayes. And here's what it actually means. What he's going to say is, it's not about me. It's about my players. It's about the guys I've recruited. Those are the guys that get on the field. And that's true to an extent. But here's what it actually means. It means Kirk Ferentz is a college football coach that, just like his players, it won't happen overnight. And we don't have patience in 2025. College football fans don't have patience. But I think if we've learned anything, I hope I don't end up on the wrong side of the internet with this, but if we learned anything from Wisconsin and Nebraska, it's that sometimes things may go down, but that's the thing about consistency. You have to just keep going, and the roulette wheel is going to spin the other way. I think the Iowa program should be given a lot of credit. All those all those ADs over the past 27 years with Ferentz, for sticking with Kirk Ferentz and his developmental program, knowing that there are going to be bumps in the road. But I'm not sure we're ever going to see a coach quite like Kirk Ferentz stay at one place, a program that it's a top 30 program in the country in terms of jobs, but it's not top 10, and he wants to stay here for 25 plus years and keep winning.
Well, if you ask Coach Ferentz, the reason he's been doing this so long is the people. From the staff to the personnel, just the players and everything. So yes, he 100% is going to turn it around and say, whatnot. I do think, he's kind of become a little bit of an emotional guy as he's gotten older, and I have appreciated that because I completely understand that. But at the same time, I do think that it might hit him. It might hit him when he calls it a career, though. I don't know if it'll hit him in the moment. I think he'll kind of accept it, celebrate a little bit. His team is going to celebrate him as he should be celebrated. But at the same time, I think exactly what you said too, Jack, is that he's made Iowa so special. And I don't think there is going to be anyone like him, once he does call it a career, which is very, very far away.
It's
right?
Right. And it's a culture thing. It is a total testament, especially having a developmental program nowadays where guys want to leave, but guys are still sticking around. Yeah. Like in the past few years, that doesn't happen. Very few other places in the country where people are going to stick around for 2 or 3 years. But in this era of college football, Ferentz has been able to have those guys that are clearly incredibly talented because they come out when they do get their opportunity and they're incredible. So I think it's a testament to the type of culture that he's built that so many, it seems like every other college football coach in the country is still trying to figure out.
Yeah, great point. Biggest takeaways from today, I think, is kind of where we'll end this because we've been yapping for a minute. Who wants to go first? Biggest takeaway?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Yeah. Biggest takeaway is a lot of the leaders are gone. Your Jay Higgins, he's gone. Nick Jackson's gone. Those 60-year seniors that we couldn't stop talking about from last year, they've left their mark on the program. But this team, the cupboard is not bare. The development is showing because there are so many guys on both sides of the football that can crack the field. And I think that's a positive. I think the question it raises is, if all these guys are good, does that mean no one is standing out? I think we're going to learn that Saturday at Kids Day. We're going to learn that in the first few weeks of the season. Who's going to be the guy or guys that surprise or live up to expectations?
Okay.
Yeah, and for me, it's the biggest takeaway I have is all the fans out there super excited about Gronowski and think it's going to be a 5,000-yard passer. Slow the roll a little bit, wait and see. And that's what Ferentz was very, kind of getting across today was, hey, let's calm down a little bit. This is going to be defense. We're going to run the football. It's Iowa culture. And just because he's got a quarterback who can go out and sling the ball doesn't mean he's going to just sling the ball. It's going to be a lot. Iowa is still going to be Iowa. It's not going to turn into an air raid offense all of a sudden. Everything's got to be a little bit measured, I think. It's going to rely on defense. And I think this team there's so much focus on the offense. I do think this team goes as far as the defense allows them to.
Okay. I like all of those. I think this one's going to work out. This quarterback, I think it's going to work out. Truthfully, they've had some bad luck. They've battled some injuries and everything. I do think that Gronowski is gonna work out. But I do think obviously a lot of other factors play into that too. The special teams has to be consistent like they have been, and the defense has to have those leaders step up for them to win football games. However, I just think that this offense kind of has the pieces, to put it all together. Maybe not a superstar, but they have the right pieces to kind of take them far.
I think my question is for you two is,
oh no,
if Iowa beats Penn State at home, right? What does that look like? If you envision that in your mind, what does that look like? To me, it still looks like if they win, in this world, it's a 17-14 game, right? You know,
Oh,
you don't.
oh,
It's not a.
Yeah, I
it's
was
not
picturing
a.
fans rushing
I
the
was
field.
like,
No, no.
That's what it looks
The
like.
way those wins against those marquee opponents going to happen, I still think it's going to be, a 17-14 game. I don't think it's going to be 24 plus points getting thrown on the board.
6-3. It's what Gronowski's known.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think where Iowa's bread is buttered, it's still defense and special teams.
Yep.
I think let's not lose track of what we were saying last year when Tim Lester came in. He doesn't need to invent the wheel with the Iowa offense. He just needs to make it good. Good is all Iowa fans want. They don't need great. They don't need Ohio State or Penn State. They don't need a Heisman Trophy candidate, although they got lucky last year with Caleb Johnson. They need good. And I think if they beat Penn State, it's going to wind up being 17-14, 20-13, 20-14, something like that.
For sure. I mean, Kirk Ferentz kind of touched on it today. They're not Ohio State. They're never going to be Ohio State. This is Iowa. They play Iowa football. They make you play their game. I mean, it's not going to be high scoring. If it's against Penn State, call it 10-7,
Yeah.
A field goal to win it or something.
6-4, like that 2004 was 6-4.
Nothing fancy. That's kind of what I like about Iowa football is they're not flashy, they're not fancy. They just know how to get the job done.
17-14, no picks from Gronowski. Like they just don't want to
That's
make.
your score?
They just don't want to make. They don't want to make mistakes. I think that's the biggest thing. And people will say, "Oh, just throw it deep." It's like because you got a better arm in there. But I think they're still going to focus on ball security is paramount.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll be making our picks throughout the weeks. I should say 2 on Iowa Live. That begins the 25th. Of this month. So we'll see between the three of us, as well as Scott Docterman and our guest, who does the best, I guess, this year. Also, Iowa's season opener, August 30th, against Albany. Interesting, right? A night game?
Night game, well, night-ish, 5 o'clock, in August. Yeah, Albany's it's my dad's college, actually. My dad graduated from SUNY Albany, so the folks from...
Is he coming down?
He's not. But Albany, by the way, not Albany. We're so off track. How long have we been going on?
I didn't say Albany.
Just one more thing.
No. So some other. I didn't say you said.
Okay, I was just saying.
People have said. What did I say? Albany.
Albany,
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, it's Albany for sure. But it's the football. I think one fun fact about being from Maryland. Fun fact about Albany.
East Coasters.
They're very well known. They have a great lacrosse program.
Albany?
Very good
they
lacrosse
do.
program.
Yeah.
So there's your fun fact for the day about Albany.
Super. Learn something. All right.
Do
we
with that
are done
information.
yapping. August 30th is Iowa's season opener right inside Kinnick Stadium against Albany.
Yep.
Of course, we will be there. And I don't think we do have... Kirk Ferentz is going to speak before, obviously, that game and everything. So we will have more Hawkeye football coverage coming your way.
Yeah, Kids Day Saturday.
Oh, there you go. Kids Day tomorrow. If you don't have plans, go out. What time does it start?
10 o'clock. Gates open.
10 o'clock. Perfect. We'll see you next time.